Riches are not born in your bank account. They are born in your belief system. They begin the moment you take control of the one empire that rules all others, your mind. Before the first dollar arrives, before the first business launches, before any idea becomes income, there is a war being fought inside your own head. And here's the hard truth. You will never be wealthy, not truly, not freely, not sustainably, until you learn to master yourself. Because the mind, left unchecked, is a saboteur. It fears change, it seeks comfort. It clings to the familiar, even if the familiar is mediocrity. It whispers lies like truths, tells you you're not ready, that you're not worthy, that someone else is better, smarter, luckier. And if you do not rise above it, if you do not take command, then no strategy, no mentor, no investment will save you. That's the part they don't tell you in schools. That success isn't about luck. It's about mental dominance. Voice deepens, music begins to shift, a slow, steady beat like footsteps forward. Everything you've ever been told about wealth starts on the outside. Get the degree, build the business, invest the money. But none of it lasts if the mind beneath it is weak. Because money is a mirror. It reflects who you are inside. Give it to a man who doubts himself. He'll lose it. Give it to someone who hates discipline. He'll burn it. Give it to a person who feels unworthy. He'll sabotage it. But hand it to someone who's mastered their mindset, who's tamed the chaos inside. And watch what they build. Watch how they multiply. Watch how they expand reality itself with pure conviction. This is what Napoleon Hill knew. This is what Carnegie understood. This is what every icon, Ford, Jobs, Oprah, Musk, used to bend the world to their will. Thoughts are things. And if your thoughts are weak, reactive, toxic, then so is your future. Beat picks up slightly. A marching rhythm begins beneath the words. You were not born with limits. You were taught them, conditioned by systems designed to keep you small. Trained to be polite, obedient, and afraid of standing out. Told to wait. Told to lower your voice. Told to be realistic. And now, you carry chains you don't even see. Chains that tell you, I'm not ready. It's not the right time. What if I fail? What will people think? But those chains are illusions. They exist only in the mind. And the moment you break them, the moment you take full command of your thoughts, your focus, your belief, your direction, that's the moment your entire world begins to shift, because true wealth doesn't start with numbers. It starts with identity, with becoming the kind of person who can hold greatness without dropping it. Before you can have clarity in your life, you must first declare who you are becoming, because the richest people on earth, they didn't just stumble into success. They designed themselves, with ruthless focus, with unapologetic intent. They didn't wait for purpose to arrive. They forged it. They asked one question the world avoids. Who must I become to deserve the life I want? And that answer, that version of you that lives in the future, they don't complain. They don't scroll for hours. They don't negotiate with excuses. They wake up with clarity because their mind has been trained to ignore everything but the mission. You see, the mind is a garden. What you plant grows. What you neglect dies. And the weeds of doubt, comparison, and fear, they'll take over everything unless you take control. Clarity is the sword that cuts through the noise. It's not about having the perfect plan. It's about waking up with a reason that's stronger than your feelings. Most people wander. They drift. They're pulled in 10 different directions by people, pressure, and past trauma. And then they wonder why success never lands. It's because success doesn't visit the distracted. It visits the clear. It visits the disciplined. It visits the one who said, "This is what I want. This is who I must become. And nothing, no pain, no person, no doubt, will stop me." Voice intensifies, tempo increasing like a rising storm of willpower. When the mind is trained on a single target, it becomes a weapon, laser-focused, bulletproof, untouchable. This is how Edison endured 10,000 failures without flinching. He wasn't chasing a paycheck. He was chasing clarity of vision. This is how Oprah turned trauma into triumph. She didn't wait for a better life. She built one inside her mind first. She saw something greater, and she held onto that vision like her life depended on it, because it did. You become what you consistently think about. So if your thoughts are scattered, filled with doubt, poisoned by scarcity, what do you expect your life to look like? You cannot create freedom with a prison mind. You cannot build abundance from a place of fear. And you will never feel rich until your thoughts become rich in purpose, discipline, and belief. So the question is not, how do I make more money? The question is, how do I become the kind of person money flows to? And that begins with mastering your inner world. It begins with radical ownership of every thought, every word, every minute. No more mental leaks, no more wasted energy, no more renting space in your mind to fear, guilt, or regret. You clean house, you set fire to your limitations, and you replace them with conviction. Now that your mind is clear, now that you've stripped away the noise, the lies, the excuses, you're left with the most powerful tool a human being can possess. Vision. Not dreams, not vague wishes. Vision. Dreams are soft. Vision is carved in stone. Dreams fade when you're tired. Vision wakes you up before the sun. Dreams whisper. Vision roars. Every empire you've ever admired began in one person's mind. One person who dared to see something no one else could. Steve Jobs saw the future in a garage. He didn't wait for approval. He didn't ask permission. He followed the picture in his mind like a prophet follows fire. That's vision. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper for lacking imagination. So he imagined a world no one else had the courage to create. That's vision. And you? You've been given that same gift. The same human brain, the same consciousness, the same power to picture what doesn't yet exist and drag it into reality with pure will, but most people don't use it. They spend their lives staring at their problems instead of designing their future. They let life happen to them instead of creating life from within. But not you. Not anymore. Because once you've cleaned your mental lens, once you've burned down the false beliefs that held you hostage, you begin to build. You begin to align your daily actions with that crystal clear internal vision. You stop living by emotions and start living by decisions. Voice drops into a rhythmic, powerful whisper, slow, commanding, sacred. Here's what the world will never tell you. If you can see it vividly enough and act on it relentlessly enough, it will become real. That's not fantasy, that's physics. That's neurology. That's law. The mind is not just a processor. It's a transmitter. It sends out signals every time you focus. Every time you feel gratitude for a future that hasn't arrived yet. Every time you act with certainty instead of fear. You become a magnet. Not for luck, not for magic, but for the opportunities, people, and power already orbiting your destiny, waiting for you to become aligned enough to receive them. Most people live in resistance. They chase, they hustle from lack, they grind from fear, and they wonder why nothing sticks. But when you master your mind, you don't chase, you attract. You draw success to you like gravity. Because your energy is congruent with your intention. This is the part they don't teach in business school. This is what Napoleon Hill meant when he wrote, "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Not whatever the world gives you. Not whatever your background allows, whatever your mind conceives. If you're willing to believe it hard enough and back it with consistent action, it will become real." Now vision must be followed by motion. Without action, your mind becomes a museum. Beautiful pictures on the wall, but no living proof. Rich minds are not just dreamers, they are builders, and they know that the greatest architecture in life, wealth, power, freedom, is created one disciplined decision at a time. Because success does not come in floods, it comes in drops, small, daily acts of mastery. That seem insignificant when you do them, but catastrophic when you don't. You don't become wealthy overnight. You become wealthy the moment you choose to show up like a wealthy person long before the wealth arrives. How does a rich mind operate? It rises early, because time is wealth. It protects its attention because focus is currency. It studies, reflects, plans because knowledge is leverage. It moves every day with purpose, not urgency, purpose. Most people never reach the life they want because they act according to their mood instead of their mission. They act when it feels good. They delay when it gets hard, and they call that normal. But the rich mind? The rich mind acts when it's cold, tired, uninspired, and alone. Because it remembers the vow made in silence, the oath that said, "I don't need motivation, I have commitment." Voice deepens. Musical tension tightens like the focus of a laser. Discipline is the invisible thread that pulls the future into the present. When you decide to do the work, not once, not twice, but daily, you begin to build evidence inside your mind. Proof that you are the kind of person who follows through. And that proof is the foundation of confidence. You don't find confidence in compliments. You don't build belief from praise. You build belief from the promise you keep to yourself. And that promise is sacred, because every time you keep it, you become more dangerous to mediocrity. You become a threat to every doubt that ever lived in you, and the world begins to notice. Not because you speak louder, but because your life now speaks for you. You walk differently. You carry yourself like someone who knows where they're going. You look in the mirror, not for validation, but for alignment. You don't wait for wealth. You become it. Because wealth is not just money. It's energy. It's self-respect. It's the discipline to delay pleasure today so you can build power tomorrow. And that power? It doesn't come from talent. It comes from decisions made in private, without applause.